So before we continue with the video, I want to talk to you guys about where I got this shirt from, and you probably guessed it, jerseyfifa.com. They have kindly sponsored today's video and also sent me a load of free shirts for me to check out myself, and I can now really vouch for the quality of these products. They have loads of shirts to offer on the website, so if you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and check out Jersey FIFA for yourself. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we have Champions League coverage, because when a team wins 7-0 in the Champions League against a very decent side, it just feels like you have to cover it. So of course today we're going to be talking about Guardiola, the tactics used by Rose, Erling Haaland. I mean, what a performance. Make sure you stay tuned till the end of the video when I'm going to go through a few of his goals and talk about the good things that he does in the goals. So yeah, Manchester City obviously won this game quite comfortably, so I want to look at kind of the tactics that got them into that situation. Now, I've seen people saying that they got a little bit fortunate, and to a degree, I do kind of agree a little bit. I think there's a couple of decisions which go their way, which are a bit fortunate with, things like that. However, you kind of create your own luck to an extent in football, and City's system was that good that it got them into such dangerous positions that you kind of get those decisions. If you put enough balls into the box, if you sustain that pressure in the final third, you kind of do buy your own luck a little bit. So let's look at how City done that. And it started with RB Leipzig not really putting too much pressure on the ball. Now, typically these Red Bull clubs press really high up the pitch, look to win the ball back nice and high. We didn't really see that from Leipzig. Instead, they kind of sat off in this really narrow 4-2-3-1 shape and allowed City to build the ball from the back. Now, of course, when City are allowed to build the ball out from the back, they then shift to more of a back three. We see John Stones move into midfield, but we've got an Akanji, Diaz, Aki back three like this. And then we've got Grealish wide left, Gundogan's going to push forward, De Bruyne is going to push forward, Bernardo wide on the right, and then we've got Rodri and Stones forming what we can now see is a 3-2 shape. So we've got our three centre-backs here, Aki, Diaz and Akanji, and then Stones and Rodri in front of them. And from here, City done a really good job. Now, there were situations where Forsberg would try and make it a front two and apply a bit more pressure to the ball, but what I liked about these City defenders was that they were very aggressive with their first touch. So when these two were pressing, Diaz would be aggressive stepping forward, or it could be Ake would be very aggressive with his first touch on the ball, looking to kind of step forward, because what this means is that if Werner comes sprinting out this way, but then I take an aggressive step forward, it kind of breaks Werner's stride pattern, which makes it difficult for him to then like turn around and press me. So City done this really well. What we also saw was quite a lot of rotations in this area. Of course, Stones isn't naturally a midfielder, so there were times where perhaps Akanji would step forward and Stones would be deeper. We could also see Rodri dropping a little bit deeper for someone like Aki to step forward. Lots of rotations in these areas, although the average shape was the 3-2 like this. And the key for me from this area was that the wide centre-backs were really aggressive with their first touch, looking to step forward. Now what this does when Aki steps forward is it kind of draws Leipzig's press. So initially they've been quite passive, however this touch forward is going to kind of drag Leipzig in a little bit. We're going to see the winger on that side, on this occasion Lima, go tight to Aki essentially. Werner is going to be on Diaz here, we're going to see Forsberg in on Rodri, but City are clearly going to have a problem here. Sorry, not City, Leipzig are clearly going to have a problem here. Because it's 5 versus 4. And City have so much quality on the ball that they are very capable of just moving it to like two-touch football and getting it to the spare man. And that was a problem for me for Leipzig. When they were kind of then triggering this press, they were leaving City with the free man constantly. So suppose I could come a little bit higher on the press, but then John Stones is the free man. And this was the problem that Leipzig had. They kind of triggered this wider area as the press, but City were happy to step forward with the ball. With Aki and Akanji stepping forward into these areas, Leipzig kind of used that to get over. But with City having a spare man, it allows them to move the ball about. And when City have a spare man, that's very dangerous, especially when it's in such a central area that they have this free man. And what we could see time and time again was this box midfield of Rodri, Stones, Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan outnumbering the Leipzig midfield three. And obviously, that's a real problem for Leipzig because Manchester City have a lot of quality in these areas. I mean, just look at the names I've just said. To give them the man advantage is a real problem. And Leipzig just didn't deal with this all night long. And it made ball progression really easy for Manchester City. Of course, they always have this easy ball progression out wide as well, with Bernardo and Grealish always holding the width. It kind of gives you that constant option where you can get the ball into them. And with Bernardo being left-footed and Grealish being right-footed, it means you can pass it to them on the back foot. So even if the player presses them, they're still comfortable with the foot that the ball is on, which makes it much easier for them to kind of take the ball under control and then either lay it off to someone else or try and turn and progress. It just makes it very easy for Manchester City to get the ball moving forward. And as a result, City took total control. Now, the question is, how do you take total control to an extent where, or to a point where you're now being dangerous? So not only are you controlling the ball, moving it side to side, you're hurting the defence. With City playing with what was essentially 4 centre-backs in the starting 11, plus Grealish and Bernardo out wide, 2 players who are technically very secure, but, you know, they're not penetrative players. They're players who are very technically good, but they keep the ball for your side. The question was, where is the penetration going to come from for City? Well, it kind of came from Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan, and I thought these 3 performed very well. Now, the reason that De Bruyne and Gundogan in particular performed so well is because they were able to play outside of the Leipzig midfield. So again, this comes because Manchester City have the overload. What it means is that Rodri here can get the ball kind of unchallenged, because Forsberg can't go too tight because Stones is there as well. So what this means is that City all day long can just play this pass into Gundogan, or John Stones into Kevin De Bruyne. And now you are getting very dangerous players into very, very dangerous positions on the football pitch. And then with players like Haaland on the pitch, De Bruyne now has runners that he can look to. Of course, the whole time Leipzig are playing a reasonably high line. I can't really highlight it on here because there isn't enough room on the tactical board, but Leipzig aren't a team that sit deep. They do leave spaces in behind you. And, you know, when you've got a player like Kevin De Bruyne on the ball with a bit of time in this half space, and you're playing a high line, it's very, very dangerous. One player who benefited from this was Grealish. He was often the extra man. Of course, City can create this 5 versus 4, meaning they have the extra man in the attack. So Grealish could be the free man, and we know how good Grealish is at picking the ball up and just carrying it forward towards the box. Even if he doesn't get a goal or assist or even create a chance, it's his ability to kind of carry the ball forward, really drags this Manchester City team up the pitch, and he done that very, very well. On the right-hand side, the dynamic was a little bit different, because, you know, Bernardo isn't a winger. He can play there, but I don't think he is a proper right winger. So what we saw were situations where he would kind of drift inside a little bit, but this then allows Kevin De Bruyne to go around the outside, and we know how dangerous that is going to be. And De Bruyne's deliveries into the box, we saw it inside the first 15 minutes. He'd done it on 2 or 3 occasions very early on, whipping dangerous balls into the box for Haaland to attack. And, you know, it didn't lead to a goal from this, but it's just a threat. You're just constantly putting pressure on the Leipzig defence. You're constantly asking questions of them. And it's things like that where I'm saying you kind of buy your own luck a little bit. By constantly putting the defenders under pressure, it really is difficult to deal with over a 90-minute period where you're not seeing much of the ball. Manchester City are controlling it, dominating it, but then also creating chances as well. It's so difficult for Leipzig to deal with that. And I thought City were just brilliant. So we've got this control at the back. We've got a back 3 here, and then we've got the 2 in front of them, rotating and controlling possession well as playing through the press when Leipzig try and put it on. Then we've got our midfield box. Rodri, Stones, De Bruyne and Gundogan, overloading the RB Leipzig midfield and again taking control, but also now aiding ball progression to getting the ball further forward. Now the question is kind of what you create in the final third. Well, we've seen Grealish carrying the ball forward, getting into good positions. We've seen De Bruyne's rotations with Bernardo on the right-hand side. All of this whilst you have Erling Haaland up front. Now, what we saw from Haaland in this game, for me, was exactly why Manchester City signed him. There have been question marks all season long, really, but particularly in the last few weeks. Does he make Manchester City worse? And I understand the argument, right? Because he's not like Gabriel Jesus, the way he drops into the pockets and kind of links to play. He might dribble, bring others into the game. Erling Haaland doesn't do that, so I get the argument. But for a player to score this amount of goals, 5 goals in one game, a player scoring 5 goals in one game cannot have made Manchester City worse last night. So I kind of want to break down what it is that he brought to this team last night, which we have not seen from other Manchester City strikers in the past few years. Because for me, I mean, ultimately, I think everyone would agree, Erling Haaland was the real difference between these two sides. Everyone else done very well, the control was good, they got into good positions and created chances. But at the end of the day, you need someone to take them. And Haaland showed that he is that poacher in the box, which Manchester City have needed and craved for several years. So to check out a few of these goals, we are going to use Once Video Analyzer Pro. It's a really good video analysis software, which you guys can check out using the link in the description down below. I really do highly recommend it. It's very useful and got some great tools, so a few of which will be on display in this video. But let's get into the goals. This is the second goal here, and what we're going to see from Haaland is that nature of he is just a bit of a beast. I think Manchester City have had strikers in the past and forwards in the past which have pressed. However, Erling Haaland pressing you and sprinting at you compared to Foden, I know which I would be more scared of and which I would feel more pressured by. And we're going to see that here. So initially Haaland locks on with the press. We can see him going nice and high. He's forcing the Leipzig defender back towards his own goal. And it's going to force him all the way backwards to the goalkeeper. Haaland goes on the hunt. He hasn't just done his work. He isn't just finished with the centre-back. Next target, I'm going to go hard at this goalkeeper. And he does exactly that. He sprints at the goalkeeper all the way, and what this does is forces the goalkeeper long. Arguably a foul here. It's not given, so Haaland gets credit. For me, it's a bit of a foul, but, you know, let's see how it plays out. Anyway, the ball is forced long. And, you know, that's very good from Haaland. What Akanji does is just punches it straight back. But again, look at Haaland at the bottom of the screen. His work isn't done. A lot of players would have kind of done that intense running, put that pressure on the ball, forced the goalkeeper long. Job done. I've done what I needed to do. I won the ball back from my side. Not Haaland, though. This ball comes back forward, and Haaland again locks onto it. And goes, okay, I'm going to read where it's going to land, and I'm going to go challenge it. And this header is really good. What he does is he just knocks it down for Kevin De Bruyne just behind him. This is a header, a bit of play, which other City forwards in the past few years just simply wouldn't have done. I mean, who else has played up front in the past few years? Sergio Aguero, Jesus, Foden, Sterling. Those players would not have Gvardiol playing with this fear. Gvardiol dominates most forwards, most players in Europe. Not Haaland. Haaland wins this header and sets it off really nicely for Kevin De Bruyne. It kind of gets laid off down here, gets knocked down. De Bruyne picks up the second ball, carries the ball forward and gets the shot off at goal. Now yes, don't get me wrong, the quality in this move comes from De Bruyne with the shot. However, the interesting thing for me here is Haaland. If we look at the Leipzig defenders, particularly Orban here, number 4, he's very flat-footed. But if we look at the Leipzig defenders in general, they're all looking at the ball thinking, De Bruyne's about to shoot, there's a decent chance this ends up in the back of the net. Or the goalkeeper's going to save it. What Haaland does is he thinks a bit differently. Haaland looks as though and acts as though he knows that this ball is going to come back out. Everyone else assumes, you know, they've done their bit of defending, the ball's going to get shot, and what happens, happens. Haaland is thinking about where is this ball going to land. If it's saved, if it's the post, the bar, if it deflects, where is this ball going to land? Haaland is trying to sniff that out constantly. And that is that poacher instinct. And as a result, he reads it. He is the one on the move. And when the ball comes out, we can see he's way ahead of the Leipzig players. That is because of his reading, his anticipation, that knowing of where the goal is. And then again, he beats Gvardiol in the air and just does very, very well. So it's brilliant play from Erling Haaland. And it's a side to his game which other City forwards have not had in the past few years. That pressing intensity, the physicality, the fear he puts in defenders, and then the anticipation as well. So next up we have the third goal of the game, and this one comes from the corner. We can see the ball is going to come into the box, and it's actually going to go over Haaland. However, what Haaland does is reacts very well. He doesn't just go, okay, it's gone over my head, I'm out of the game. Again, he sniffs around about where this ball might end up. And for me, again, it's just very impressive. It's a striker instinct which other players don't have. Here, he is now ready. We can see that he's looking at the ball. So City have won the first contact. The goalkeeper is going to save it. But Haaland is immediately switched on. He's looking at where the ball is going to land, anticipating where the ball is going to go. And when he notices where the ball is going to go, the speed with which he rushes onto this ball is just ridiculous. First of all, the reaction speed, but also that anticipation to get goal side. You know, he knows where this ball is going to go, but it's the speed to get there and the tenacity. It's like a tiger jumping on its prey. He really goes for this ball. And the speed with which he gets there, he barges everything out of the way. He barges the Leipzig defender into the back of the net. It's just really good play again from Haaland. And again, it's a side to his game which other forwards haven't had. And that is what, for me, makes him so important to Manchester City. And why I think he makes them a better team, not a worse team. But that's all I have to say for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Let me know what you think though. What did you think of Haaland, his goals, some of the refereeing decisions, Manchester City's general shape and performance, all of that. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.